Gary, for the second week in a row we let ourselves down with a disappointing fade out against Footscray on Saturday. What was your take on the performance?
Yeah, we got a response, Sammy, and I think that's always important considering we were pretty disappointed and didn't play well the week before against Essendon. So for the first quarter I was pretty happy. Spoke to the boys at quarter time and told them that their pressure and their work rate and their effort and the way we were hitting the scoreboard was all fairly positive. And then within 10 minutes of the second quarter, sitting up in the box, it started, in my mind, to really turn momentum-wise their way. You know, we were being caught quite deep in our defensive area, even though we were holding on, but we're trying to score launch from deep in defence, and they were picking us off across the middle of the ground. And then once the floodgates opened, the avalanche started. Kavara got a couple of goals just prior to half-time, which I thought were pretty crucial, considering one of them was or both of them were really stoppage goals. And then from that point on, it was a complete controlled game by Footscray. They applied the pressure and we couldn't execute under pressure at all, and of course the contribution levels from a lot of our players was actually really, really poor. Stats can be made to whatever they want to be made, but at half time there were 20 players out of 23 who hadn't registered double figure possession, so that's a lot. Even some players hadn't even touched the ball once. So you can see that you're really pushing the proverbial uphill. So we tried to regroup at half-time, we made a few moves, but even some of our better players were certainly not as we would want them to be. But it's across the board, so from a total team performance, we had very few contributors, mate, and we allowed them to really dominate for 2.5 quarters.
Were you and the coaches able to specifically identify the reasons for that sudden turnaround in the game that happened at the halfway mark of the second quarter?
Yeah, our ball movement fell down. The pressure that Footscray were able to exert on us certainly went up a notch or two. The heat that they brought to the game. A lot of the mistakes that we made were basically being reactive and not proactive. We certainly got beaten in the centre bounce, centre clearance areas, so that puts a lot of pressure on your defence. It's very hard to defend and set up behind the ball when it's being turned over. One of the modern day things is that you win possession, you want to then be able to use the ball according to your patterns, the way you want to obviously play coming out of defence, but other players will then get in position for the next link in the chain. And if that's not happening, then of course your mechanisms are pretty poor defensively, and we just kept doing that aerially. They were very strong. They read the fall of the ball. They got a lot of ground balls, front and square balls, and our players were consistently outworked, and the effort became one of accepting, not doing something about it.
And many fans are asking on the status of some of our sideline boys at the moment. Is there any update you might be able to provide them on in terms of some of those individuals, and particularly now with the bye approaching?
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty important fortnight, because not only do we want players to get back from their injuries, but also too the fact that the VAFA and some other leagues are either having 2 byes in a row or at least 1 bye. So that then places a little bit more emphasis on what our training program will be. But I'd like to think that Matthew Arnott got through, and definitely got through 3 quarters of footy on the weekend, so hopefully he pulled up pretty well. So there'll be a solid block of training there. Khan Heratuku continues to increase his workload, so there may be an opportunity for him to play the week after next. We're obviously looking at Isaac Conway hopefully playing this week for Melton South, so all he needs to do is, I guess, just get his head around what he has to do from a playing point of view. His body's fine, and he just needs to get some confidence by playing. I would think that Dylan Van Oonen should be right to play. Perry Lewis-Smith, who was really in strong consideration to play on Saturday, ended up getting through a game against or with his side Pines. So there's going to be a little bit of good fortune, I think, at this stage coming back after the break.
And in terms of the bye now, what does it look like in terms of the schedule from a training point of view, and I suppose refreshing and reassessing, because they're now there's only 7 games to go now, so the crunch is coming?
Yeah, well, definitely the crunch was probably 2 weeks ago, really, when you think about it, because even if we had won one of those games, then it sort of gives us an opportunity to stay around that sort of top 4. Now it's going to be a little bit of hard work. We've had probably 2 poor games in almost 10 weeks of footy, so there's something to say for that. We've played a lot of young boys. They've had a taste of obviously senior VFL footy. So our training program will be Monday, Wednesday. We'll give them a running session to do. Those that need a top-up will play with their home club this weekend. Otherwise, the ones that won't will then, as I said, have to do a running program, and we'll be back here Monday week, resetting, working on all the things that we know make us a better side, and not expect them to come back a little bit rejuvenated, because it's been a pretty solid block of work that the boys have had to do. And again, there's still a lot of footy to be played.
Well, Gary, bad luck on Saturday's result, but we've got a week off to stew on it and hopefully come back bigger and stronger after the break, where we will once again be at home to take on the Northern Blues. Enjoy the freshen up, and we'll see you back soon.
Yeah, big game at home against the Northern Blues, Sam. Thanks.